Hi guys, just to let you know, we've got a brand new website, drcharlieward.com, where all our videos will be loaded over the next few weeks, and you'll be able to view all of those there's no charge for watching any of those. We've moved them all onto our own platform because all the doctor ones, which are very, very important, have been taken down, so we've now got control over those, but every single video we post will be free to watch. That's very important for you to know. The other thing is we're getting an awful lot of people asking us about gold and silver, and I've always been an advocate of gold and silver. And myself, I'm not in a position to give financial advice. I'm not qualified to do so. I'm just going to tell you what I've personally done. I've personally bought gold and silver, and I've used a company that I trust, which is shown below here. They've always looked after me well. And if you order from them more than £250 worth, you get a free 1 ounce silver coin, which is very, very nice. It's a nice little gift. But this is not an endorsement. This is just what I have done personally, and it's up to you. It's your choice. As I said, I'm not qualified to give the advice on financial advice, but it's just what I have done personally. And I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you enjoy watching all of my videos. Thank you.
Whereas when you realize that God's in here, that makes a massive difference. I used to look up in the skies because I thought it was in the heavens. Well, and we also know the saying, heaven's a place on earth.
He's in our heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can actually see it when you talk to somebody. You can see the love in somebody's face, like yourself. You can see it shines through. You don't need to tell people. It shines through in people that have it, that know what's inside. They've connected with their spiritual side, and it just shines. It's a bit like headlights on a car. They just shine. They shine in the darkness. And for those people that haven't connected, it's a bit like they're driving in the dark with no lights.
Well, and I think that's a big part of what's happening on the planet right now is along with the information that's being uncovered, there's also a global spiritual awakening that's happening. And people are starting to remember what God really is, not what our churches say God is, but the feeling that for themselves, a personal connection to God. That's what's going to create this whole new world that we're in the midst of desiring to create.
Yeah, and a number of, I speak to lots of spiritual people, but 3 on a regular basis, on every other day. So that when I find out factual stuff, I try and verify it through them to give me a real clarity on what I'm talking about. And it was very interesting that 2 of them said the same thing, that we use the word God, and God's name has been contaminated over the years. And they both said the same thing. We need to refer more to our creator. And I thought, yeah, okay. But they're in the process, along with virtually everybody in the spiritual world, of cleaning up the dirty swamp. Donald Trump was draining it, and it's a question of cleaning every aspect, and how they've contaminated our language, how they've taken words and used them against us, how they've taken names and used them against us. And that's what we're going through. We're going through a cleansing and awakening. And for me, I'm just very, very grateful to be alive, to be able to see it, because this is the golden age we're coming into.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular to be a part of it, to be able to see the bifurcation.
Yeah.
You know, a year ago, I was calling it the 2 earth split, and then I started hearing other people call it bifurcation, and I'm starting to see it more and more and more. And for me, I live on heaven on earth.
Yeah.
That is how I live my life every day. And then to see other people who don't have that, and understanding that all of it's an inside job.
Yeah. And I think that will continue even as we transition right now. There's a lot going on that I'm not allowed to talk about, but as we transition, I can see that when we go through, I think the world will be rid of evil, when we move into this golden age, but there will still be bad people there, but there won't be evil people there.
Right.
And it'll be our duty to try and gather up the bad people to bring them across into good. And that will take time, years. It won't happen overnight. And the other thing that I was thinking about that was very interesting yesterday, because I met this homeless man. I meet them regularly. I often talk to them, but there's one particular one whose heart is pure, and he's just fallen off society's ladder, but his heart is good. And I thought to myself, do you know what? I'll get you a house, but I'll get you a job, and your job will be going around collecting every homeless person and getting every single one into a house and getting them back on the ladder and helping them and guiding them and getting them into something they enjoy doing, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about the forgiveness of debt, these people don't have debt.
Yeah, they just need a hand up.
They need a hand up.
And they need to know that someone cares about them.
Because I'm now involved with humanitarian funds and projects, I'll have access to ridiculous amounts of money. And just buying them a house, an apartment, a flat, and then paying for their education and giving them something each week to live on. And it's that simple, the humanitarian side, rather than a massive project in Africa like One Small Town, which I love. I love that. That's going to be sort of my focus for the next few years. But the small things of just taking one person off the street, getting them accommodation, paying for the house, buying it in their name, so they have something themselves, giving them an income, giving them a direction, giving them a foundation, letting them build their life, but giving them the opportunity. I thought, this is where we'll be at. And also when you've got friends that have got heavy mortgages at the moment, we talk about the debt forgiveness, and that may come very, very quickly, but for those it doesn't, then there'll be funds there to help these people, to get the pressure off them, because a lot of people aren't in a mental position to be able to enjoy their lives because they're under so much financial pressure.
Right. And
it may be that it's a good thing just to take that away from them, so they can open their minds to what's happening. And I think that will help them when you sort of give them time and money to take away their worries, so that they can actually focus not on their worries, but focus on the positives of life.
Right. Focus on their families even, so that they're not working just to pay their mortgage, working to actually spend time with their family or do what they love.
Exactly. They won't have a mortgage, of course, this year.
Right.
So suddenly
I'm excited about, here's what I know. So I tuned in, as you know, this morning and asked again about what's happening on the prosperity programs, as I call them.
Yeah.
And what Spirit told me this morning is that it's all done.
It is.
Everything is done.
It is.
It's just a matter of like flipping the switch.
And this is the most beautiful part, Michelle, Victoria. Yeah, according to Michelle, I was thinking Michelle Fielding, who's a beautiful, beautiful soul that I speak to.
Yeah. She's delightful.
She is, but the work is done. And when you talk about flicking the switch, and I've mentioned this because I have to speak almost in code to say that everything that's humanly possible has already been done. And we're now waiting on something divine to happen from above. And as I showed you earlier, the joke that I just thought was absolutely perfect for timing. Lockdown never really worked around Easter. I just thought that was beautiful. And I
certainly
think,
not 2,000 years ago.
Exactly. And what a wonderful time, the transition period. And I have noticed, I've had many, many people contact me, and I had the same from my bank, that they closed on Thursday and they won't be open again until Tuesday.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, it's Good Friday and Easter Monday.
Okay, yeah, we don't have that in the US.
Do you not?
No, we do Good Friday, but usually even on Good Friday, banks and businesses are open until noon. Sometimes some businesses close on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, and we've also had from America, which is interesting. Please note that our systems will be down for a maintenance update from Friday until Tuesday.
That's interesting.
Yes. So the banks are, openly
Gearing
saying
up.
that we're updating our systems over that period, over the Easter period. So there's a lot of signs out there for that, us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything is there. There's a lot of distractions, a lot of things out there, but yeah, it's an amazing time to be alive. And I know it's today for me and the day before for you, but today we're looking forward to Good Friday. We're going with some friends down to the beach for lunch, and it's been beautiful down here. So that's going to be nice today.
Well, I noticed that you're dressed for that.
Yes, my summer look.
That's a great shirt.
It is. It is. It's a bright shirt that my wife bought me the other day. She's I'm very, very blessed, and she's. I look at our relationship more and more when we're going through this period of time, and it's such an education to anybody in the world. I was born a Christian. My wife was born a Muslim, and there's absolutely not a cigarette paper between us in the way that we think, the way that we regard life. What's good and what's evil has got nothing to do with religion. The world, the media, the governments have tried to create division over it, as they have done for hundreds of years. The reality is we're all human beings. We're all God's children. We're all special. And when people get a grip on that and let go of all this hatred and all this division that's been man-made and created, it's not there naturally. I stand outside Justin's school and watch the little children playing, and there's one little girl whose father's from Nigeria, mother's from Italy, who's a beautiful little light, mid to dark brown color. And then you've got a little girl from Denmark that's as blonde and white as you could ever get, and they're best buddies. They're best buddies. There's not an ounce or a gram of hatred between them. They love each other to death, and they cuddle each other all the time. They're about 7 years old, 6, 7 years old, and they love playing together. And you realize then that all of this division is created by governments and media.
Yep. Yeah, the kids are not born racist. They're not born judgmental. They're not born with prejudice. They're just not.
No.
They learn it at home, or they learn it on television. They learn it from wherever, but they're not born that way. Human beings are born. Our core makeup is compassion. That is
exactly right.
Who we are.
Yeah.
And we're taught competition, and we're taught fear, but that's we come in as pure love.
Yeah. It's very interesting at the moment as well. I've had a number of trolls that have been trolling me, which for me it doesn't matter at all, because I'm not on mainstream media at all, zero. So the team run my Facebook and my Instagram and Twitter and Telegram and Signal and all the rest. They run all of that. I keep myself completely away from it and keep focused on truth. And so there was 2 or 3 of them that get a bit upset with what people say. So we've got a team behind the scenes that have been researching the trolls, and they're all funded by the deep state. They're all being used as pawns to attack us. But I said to the team yesterday, but look at our numbers. Our numbers have gone through the roof since they've been trolling us, because not everybody in the world is stupid. If somebody said, "Oh, Charlie's this, and this," most people don't believe them. They go and check. So our following has grown. On one particular day, we got some really, really serious trolling, and we got over 250,000 extra followers, which is an amazing amount of people.
So they're doing the opposite of what, yeah.
They are, and it's very interesting because they're not very happy with me, the trolls. the tone is the same. They're not very happy. I'm being accused of lies and all this. And I know what they're protecting, because MI6 and MI5 were involved in the fixing of the election in America. That's one thing they don't want exposed. Number two, they've been involved in protecting paedophilia and trafficking. They don't want that exposed because they're supposed to be the secret services. And of course, we're exposing this. That they're not just, we now know that they're not hard to infiltrate, even though they're supposed to be in secret. Because the other thing that is really, really good with humanity is in the secret services, there are actually some good people. They're not all evil. And the good people have had enough of covering up lies. So they use me as their voice because they can't speak. They speak, they get sacked, and they've no longer got access to the intel that we need. And I'm quite prepared to take the shitstorm thrown at me. It doesn't bother me at all.
Right. Well, you've had it enough years that you're used to it, right?
Yeah. Well, I said yesterday, when I was a child growing up, I was bullied at school. The worst thing they used to do was throw sticks through my wheel on my bicycle when I was riding. So I'd go over the handlebars and I'd cut my arms and bash my head. And then I'd get cricket balls and bats and rounders bats thrown at me and stuff like that. And used to get beaten up every now and then. And that was physical. And my grandfather used to say, sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And now when I look at the trolls, and all they've got is words. That's all they've got. They've got no sticks. They've got no stones. They've got no guns. No, nothing. It's just words. And I say that to my whole team. Just don't worry about it. We've got a very, very good team behind. And the minute we found out that these trolls were funded by the Secret Service, we realized that we couldn't go to the police about it because they're in the same swamp. And the judges are in the same swamp. So we decided we've got a choice. We can either go and knock at their doors personally and introduce ourselves, or we can publish their names and addresses publicly. So we're just talking as to what way we should go at the moment. So we're going to have a bit of fun with them. That
is fantastic. Yeah, and I was thinking as you were saying that, because I remember when I was a little girl being, harassed and called names too. And that saying about sticks and stones. And I remember telling my parents, well, what do you know? Because being called names hurts. But I finally got to that point, like you, a couple of months ago, where what could they possibly do? And it's really quite amazing when we finally get to that place where it doesn't hurt anymore.
No. It has the opposite effect. It actually inspires and makes me realize they wouldn't be doing it if we weren't right over the target.
Right. They're scared.
They're scared to death. They're absolutely petrified. And when you're scared, it's like a rat. A rat will run around all day long, but the minute you corner it, it will attack.
Oh. Yeah, I just saw them scrambling the last couple of years, but going on the attack makes perfect sense now.
Yeah, they're in a corner right now, and they know they've lost, and that's when they're dangerous. As David Nino Rodriguez says, that's when they throw the haymakers, when they've got no control anymore. They're just throwing their arms out there. They know they're beaten, but they won't give up. But I know that when I'm talking to the team on the ground, they are so excited. But we've all been put under sort of double and triple gag orders at the moment, not to talk about things, because they want everything to roll out smoothly, and everything at the moment is running well, but they just want to keep it that way because they know how dangerous a wounded animal can be.
Right. Well, and not only that, if we start talking about it too much, then we could mess up the plan, right? If people start talking too much and spill the beans.
There's a possibility, but when it's God's plan, we'd have to be superhuman to mess it up.
Got it.
God has this totally under control, and he knows that, but I think he wants us just to be humble about it rather than to jump up and down and celebrate and rub it in their face. I think to be humble about the fact that we're transitioning from darkness into light. And I think also the point is that light, when we come together, like your light and my light together, make double the amount of light. Darkness can't make our light go any dimmer. But the more light we bring, we can make their darkness come lighter. And that's what we're going through right now. The more light we can bring together, 2, 3, 4 lights shining in a dark place, takes away the shadows, and then we get complete clarity. And for those people that want to stay in the dark, it's very, very difficult for them because they've got no protection now against the light that's shining in, because there's so much light shining now from every angle.
Right. Yeah, it will get to a point where the darkness has no choice but to dissipate. It just will have no choice.
It's beautiful though, isn't it?
Yeah. It's really quite extraordinary to be a part of that.
It's wonderful to be a part of it and to see it. But I do find at times I get a little bit concerned when I talk to people and they have got no concept of what's happening. I spoke the other day to a friend of mine that I haven't spoken to for a number of years. And he's actually one of the top financial advisors in the UK. And I told him I'd been working on the QFS and how we were changing the financial system. And he said to me, "You what?" And I went, "You don't know anything about the QFS?" He said, "I've never heard of it, Charlie. Never heard of it. And I'm in the financial world."
Right.
And I went, "Wow, that's interesting." So he said, "The only reason I called you is just because everyone's talking about your book." Because he's named in my book.
Okay.
And we were talking about, because I've been asked to do another book about sort of 25 short stories, because we've had some very, very funny things happen in our lives that you couldn't make up, that were just brilliant fun. And people enjoy that sort of thing, especially coming from where we're coming right now into a golden age. So those sort of stories will make people smile. But he was shocked, and then he finished up the call, and I had to leave it. He said, "Oh," and he said, "We were so fortunate this week. I managed to get my wife and my 2 daughters both all vaccinated at the same time this week." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, where I don't even know where to start." And it shows how detached they are, and how brainwashed they are by the media and by the governments. I've noticed this morning I've got loads and loads of messages where 3 countries in Europe, including the United Kingdom, are saying their lockdowns from the 1st of April are over because they haven't worked. And
yeah, well, and I've been seeing that the mainstream media isn't showing the freedom movement that's happening all over the planet.
No, they're not at all. Not at all.
So people think this is just, here in America, people think it's just a few Americans that are making a fuss. They have no idea that this is happening all over the world.
But when they mentioned it in the British media about the fact that the lockdowns are over now completely, and because they haven't worked, do you know what the British response was? Must be April Fools. This is how brainwashed they are. They think they're being had over again. But I've said it many times. It's very easy to con people and scam people, but it's very, very hard to convince them they've been conned or scammed.
I know. Yeah, my husband got the vaccine yesterday.
Really?
And he's got both of my kids convinced that it's the greatest thing in the world.
One of the sad things that I've learned talking to doctors, because nobody actually knows yet the side effects because it hasn't been tested properly. It's not been certified.
Right.
But I spoke to one biologist and one doctor over the last few days, and they've both said the same thing, that they've looked at the different vaccines, the Oxford, the AstraZeneca, and the Pfizer one, and based on their biological findings, it's very, very likely that it will sterilize a generation.
Mm.
So we won't actually see the results for a period of time. They also said that it, because of the way it destroys your natural immune system and replaces it with that, most people will need another one later on in the year. And there will be a huge spike in death rate at the end of the year when the temperatures drop and germs come around and their immune system won't be able to handle it. Mm-hmm. The other very funny thing I heard yesterday, you couldn't make it up, was that there's about 1,000 strains of coronavirus, and the vaccine they're having is only really good enough for one of them, but they don't know which one yet.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, yeah, and people go, oh, I'll have another 999 vaccines to cover all of them, please. This is their mentality.
Yeah, yeah. It is just gotten completely out of hand. I posted on that yesterday. I was like, people are lining up and giddy about pumping chemicals that have never been tested.
Yeah.
They've never been tested for contraindication against each other, in a formula that's never been tested. Yeah. And it doesn't change the face coverings. It doesn't change the social distancing, and you can still catch the virus. It does absolutely nothing.
Exactly right.
Except for put chemicals in your body and make money for the chemical companies.
I was thinking also that, you know, mentally, people have become almost complacent with what they put into their bodies. And I'm talking about the cocaine era. And I always found it incredibly funny how you get a woman who'd complain about a little bit of dirt on her glass from a bar, and yet she'd go into the toilets and put a line of cocaine on the top of the toilet and snort it off the top. That's not a problem, but the little mark on the glass is. And again, you look at the cocaine that people put in their bodies and the heroin that people put in their bodies. There are millions and millions of different strains, different types, comes from different countries, that have been cut with different things. Some of the stuff it's cut with is off the scale, some is crazy. And yet people don't think about what they put in their bodies. I certainly didn't. Because I was chasing the high. I was chasing the high all the time when I was doing it. And some of it was good, some of it was bad, some of it made you nosebleed, some of it gave you a headache, some of it made you feel shit. So we got used to putting stuff, and it's when I say we've got used to it, I was amazed in my heyday. I was amazed how many people in the world were actually participating in cocaine. And people I did not expect. And there were so many secret squirrels who I never dreamt they'd be involved, never dreamt it. And I can't mention them on here because they'll kill me, but there's people that I know in their 70s and 80s that were doing it. And I was like, really? Really? I mean, one particular gentleman, I can't mention his name, I've looked up to for years and years and years. And he was on the dance floor like shooting seagulls, as I call it, completely off his head. I mean, when I found out, I was like, really, I was just shocked. And of course, in the financial world in London, City of London, there's we used to go for lunch in the City of London at Ned Bar, and it's a huge bar with about 10 different bars and 6 different restaurants all in one building. It's an old bank building, and I mean the toilets, they were queuing up just to go and do at lunchtime to do lines. Everyone was at it, and you could see people gurning, their mouth going and everything else. It's just like absolute lunacy. But boy, oh boy, I'm so glad we've left that world behind. I left it behind a number of years back now, but I'm very grateful. Because the only problem is now, even if I have a gin and tonic, I wake up feeling absolutely awful. My body's saying that's enough now. You've done plenty all your life.
Right. Well, that was the 1980s.
It was. They were hedonistic years.
That was a drug of choice. Yeah,
it was. I couldn't actually contemplate going out without it. It was outside the parameters of normality to be able to go out and not have it. Whereas now I can't imagine going out and doing it.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
It was
I
in
know.
my apartment.
Yeah. I know that they tested the toilets in the Houses of Parliament in London, and over 90% had traces of cocaine.
Wow. Wow.
That tells you something.
Well, I never did enough of it, fortunately, to get hooked on it, but yeah, we all.
Yeah, but I don't think you appreciate the light unless you've seen the darkness.
Right.
And I think that's quite important, that we've had, my journey has been not an easy one by any sense, but and there's been some very, very dark times. I went through a number of very dark periods in my life, but then I think you appreciate so much more. And I said this to my wife only yesterday: what we've been through in our life together in the last 10 years has stood us in good stead for where we are right now. And she's become so supportive. And we have different beliefs on many different things, but she chooses to support me on the things that she believes in, and we avoid the subjects where we disagree. It's that simple. And that's fine with me. I have no problem with that, because I'm not the Messiah. I'm not right on everything. Maybe she's right on things, maybe I'm right on things, and we try not to fall out over it. What we do is we listen to each other. And sometimes she'll listen to me and she says, well, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to comment on it. I said, fine. Because we have different views, and there's certain things where one of the things which I'll point out, which is I find funny, she can't stand Donald Trump. She can't stand him. I don't know why, but it's not my type of man, because she's incredibly humble. So anyone that's cocky and brash, she just doesn't like anyway.
Right.
And there's a certain air about him that is incredibly cocky and full on and upfront. And I think the world of him. I think he's an amazing human being. And I look at his wife, I look at his family. His family are upstanding, respectful. And I think that says a lot about the father in the house, the patriarch. But it's very interesting how many people have an opinion and have never ever talked to him, never met him. And there's many times that people have met me in real life and they go, wow, you're very different from what I thought you'd be, because my look is different to what I am as a person. People think I'm one of the tough guys or what have you, whereas I'm not. I'm the biggest softie on the planet.
So I can't see you being a tough guy with that Hawaiian shirt on.
No, exactly right. But when you're out at the end of the bar and they see the size of you, I'm a fairly big guy, and I've always been told that I have an aura, and I tried to get somebody to explain what an aura was when I was talking to this gentleman who's very well known. He said, but you've always had an aura. I said, explain what an aura is to you. And he made a lovely explanation. He said, when I'm with you, Charlie, I feel good about me. And I thought, that's nice. He said, you make me feel good about being me. And that's the aura that you have. It's not about you. Your aura is to make people feel good about themselves. He said, when I'm with you, I feel good about me. And I thought, that's nice. If I can continue to make people feel good about themselves, rather than some people, that they have an aura about them and it's all about them. And we see that a lot in Hollywood. Where it's me, I'm over here. The minute you go over here, they get all angry at you for filming them. Like, yeah, whatever.
But I think that's why a lot of them end up there. They gravitate there because they need that external validation.
Well, Meghan Markle's living proof of it, isn't she?
Yeah.
As we say in England, it's a fame-hungry whore. But no, we're in a wonderful time now, a wonderful spiritual time where the light is shining brighter and brighter and brighter in people. And because there's so many bright lights coming together, the darkness doesn't stand a chance. And the battle is already completely won. And those in the spiritual world know that. But because we're so used to everything happening immediately, people are getting very frustrated. Well, it's taking too long. It's taking too long. No, it's not. It's divine timing.
Well, and some of us have been at this for a long time. I've been watching the currency reset since 2010.
Okay.
the spiritual awakening since probably 2009. So for people who are just starting this, a year ago, and they're getting frustrated that it's not happening yet, that evolution is a process. It is. So in our construct of time, our perception of time is very unique to the human perspective. Nothing happens overnight. And and I know the amount of work that's had to happen behind the scenes for what is about to occur has taken that long. To you don't just set up an entirely new financial system overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It takes years to create an entirely new financial system. And then what I was being shown is that as they've been creating these new financial system, the technology has been changing so fast that they've been having to rework the new technology in as they're going. So it is that's actually been part of the biggest reason it's taken so long, is because the technology has been changing so fast.
It's been getting better and better and better. But the one thing that's very beautiful about all of this technology, it's all up there now. It's Starlink. Right. It's all from we're controlled from above, rather than for the last centuries being controlled from below. All the servers were below before.
Right, they were underground.
That's correct.
Right.
So that even that transition alone, the control from above rather than below, is a beautiful thing to see. But it takes the transition. I said to somebody yesterday, I think it was, or day before, if you had just one bank, and you changed the banking system in one bank from analog to digital, it would take 48 hours. We're changing the whole world's banking system. Every bank, right. Every central bank, and now every gold bullion bank. So every country has its own gold bullion bank now, and the central banks will be phased out. The gold bullion bank will be coming in, but it takes time for this whole transition worldwide, and not just every country. I mean, just the simple thing that the timeline we're working to, funnily enough, like Greenwich Mean Time is the world's timing is set to. Right. At the moment, we're set to Reno time. So everything is happening around Reno time.
Really? Now, yeah. I had been hearing the name Reno about 5 or 6 years ago.
The timing of everything is from Reno for whatever reasons. We won't go into those right now.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just know that Reno's always been a central point.
Well, I'll tell you what, next time I speak to you, you'll have done some research on Reno as to why that is. But that's where the timing is set from on the quantum, and the revaluation and the reset is all done from Reno time.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know that in the US taxes are done differently in Nevada, but I don't know if that's got anything to do with it.
Talking of taxes, we got lots and lots of messages from the UK and the US yesterday that people that purchase goods from Amazon and one other company online, I forget the name of it now, the invoices came through with zero tax on.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they've been asking me to investigate. So I'm putting it out there as to why the invoices came through with zero tax on.
That's really, I'm going to have to go back and look at something I bought yesterday.
Yeah, please do.
If it's on there, I'm curious.
Please do. Because the point that I've made on this journey is that the US government corporation and the UK government corporation and the Commonwealth Corporation, etc., were all declared bankrupt. So just from a business point of view, and from in the UK,
they can't be collecting.
They can't be collecting.
They can't be collecting.
They can't. The only person that can collect is the official receiver. And the IRS and the HMRC are not official receivers, because in England, where you've got Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, those days of Her Majesty are over.
Mm-hmm. So the U.S. corporation, I know, has been closed for coming up on a year, if I recall. My question is, now I'm curious about all of the people who are supposed to be filing their income taxes in 2 weeks. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I do.
Anything about that?
Yeah, the IRS has notified them that they've got an extension of 4 weeks, which I think will transition us through from the old to the new, and then the penny will drop. They don't need to do it. That's my feelings. And we've had that in a number of cases where they've been told that due to COVID-19, there's been an extension, which COVID, as I said, was always the smokescreen.
Right.
So due to COVID, we'll go with their theory. It's been extended that you don't need to submit them for a further 4 or 6 weeks or something.
Okay.
So
but in the
happened.
meantime, other things are brewing.
Yes, they are. And we refer to it as a great awakening. And when people start to wake up to the fact that this tax paper that they were filling out and what have you, oh, we don't need that anymore. Not only is it very exciting that you haven't got to fill it out, number two, it means you haven't got to pay it.
Right. And you don't have that. I don't know if you guys have that in where you are in the UK, and are you in Spain right now?
Yeah.
We have the IRS, which is that constant feeling like someone's going to come and get you if you don't pay your taxes, or if you mess up on your taxes. It is such a heavy weight that if you don't do it right, and even if you do it right, you might get audited. It's like a monster that's constantly hovering over the people.
Well, this is the whole plan of enslavement, to keep people enslaved. This is the whole thing. Keep them living in fear. And I've said this many times on this journey, that COVID-19 won't kill you, but fear will. And this is what they're trying to do, keep you living in fear. And this is why so many people are chasing the vaccine, because they live in fear. And it's crazy, but there's only so much that you and I can do to awaken people. And you have family members that disagree with you, as do I. And I've had to learn, which is very tough, to let go and just say, ignorance is no defense. I've always said with my children growing up, my job is to teach you between right and wrong. And when you get to the age of responsibility, then what you do with that information is up to you. I can't force you to do the same as me and think the same as me. That's not good parenting. Good parenting is teaching them the difference between right and wrong.
Right.
And I know from my own experience that my father taught me certain things, force-fed me certain things. And the moment I escaped the matrix of that, I went totally the other way and got, as an example, my father always said, never, ever get a tattoo. Well, the minute I left the religious cult, the first thing I did was get a tattoo out of spite. Out of spite. That was it. And it still to this day, it reminds me of that transition in my life. And that's why I keep it, because it reminds me. I'd never have another one done. I just have my name with a dagger through a heart.
Oh, it's pretty.
And well, it was the first one ever done in acrylic rather than ink. So the colors have still remained.
Very, yeah.
So, yeah, it was just one of those things that I had done because it was a very, very, very important part on my journey. And I was 23 years old.
So I did something really crazy the first thing I did when I left home.
Yeah.
I went to college to spite my parents.
Wow.
Yeah. My dad said to me, over my dead body is any daughter of mine going to college. So I went to college purely. You get a tattoo, I go to college just to spite my parents.
Exactly right. For no other reason. For no other reason. I didn't even want a tattoo. It was just purely out of spite. And this is what happens when you lock somebody down and say, you can't do. You wait till the unlock happens and see what people start to do when they're unlocked. It's going to be very interesting to see their reaction to being set free.
That is, I hadn't even thought about that. That is going to be really interesting.
For you and me, it's going to be entertaining to see how many people get tattoos and how many people go to college.
I know my daughter's going to go to college. That I do know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with the new quantum educational system, that makes college a different place to be. And it also means that a lot of these people can be educated at home. And then one of the most important parts of our growing up and our education is integration of people, and not just online. You know, I know many people that have got on brilliantly online, then suddenly they've met and they've gone, oh dear.
Yeah.
So integration is very, very important. And of course, the whole COVID-19 has tried to stop us integrating, stop us communicating, stop us meeting each other. Yeah. Human reaction, there's nothing like it. I mean, sometimes when I see people out, that you get butterflies inside when you see them. Friends you haven't seen for years. You don't get that online the same way. And when you give them a hug, they give you a hug, and you know that you've missed them for a long time. I've got friends that I haven't seen for years and years and years. And the minute you get together, it's like you haven't been apart. There's that chemistry, that bond, that's special that you just don't get on Zoom or any of the other mediums, Skype or what have you.
And I think COVID, a part of that has been to keep us from connecting. Yes. Because human beings need to connect to each other.
Yeah. And in just as an example, in Spain, when in the old days, when people meet, they'd hug each other, kiss each other, very emotional country. Holland, you get 3 kisses on it, 1, 2, 3. I mean, this, I promise you, for those who don't know, this builds up your immune system. And touching people, instead of washing your hands every few minutes, builds up your immune system.
Absolutely.
And there was a lovely thing that somebody put out the other day that makes me smile, especially when I look at you. Why is it that women in their 30s and 40s look younger than the ones in their 20s and 30s? And the answer was because they used to drink water out of a hose. Because they built up their immune system. They did natural things.
Right.
And even yesterday when we were cleaning out the drains using your hands, yes, I washed it off with the hose afterwards. Yeah, but I certainly didn't go and put any detergent or any of these whatever gels on. I just washed it all off, and that builds up your immune system so that when when germs come around, then your body can stand up to them. And for a whole year, I haven't worn a mask once, not once. And I've been walking around and touching everything. And in a world of a pandemic, I haven't even had a common cold. Nothing. The only thing I've had is a hangover.
That's what's been, but the hangovers don't count. That's what I found fascinating, that this year, there have been no colds. There's been nothing.
And no old people.
Normally something would have come through my house by now just because of my kids being at school and bringing stuff home.
And nobody's died of old age for the last 12 months.
Fascinating, isn't it?
I think it's absolutely beautiful. And the other thing that was very funny the other day was Matt Hancock, the UK health minister, came out and said, because he was asked a very, very straight question, can you confirm the actual number, the physical number of deaths just from COVID-19? And he turned around and said, I can't tell you in public, I'll tell you in private. And then after that, there was another question. He said, now I can confirm that 85% of the deaths of COVID-19 were as a direct result of the vaccination.
He said that on camera?
He said it on camera. He said it to the British public, and the British public said he must have mixed up his words. This is how programmed they are.
I remember, I don't know if it was that or someone here in the US that said the same thing. It was just a mix-up.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's how blind people are.
Yes, it is. But there's only so much you can do. And this has been a long journey. But and it's very interesting when you start waking people up now, Victoria, is where do we start from? I've done 1,500 videos.
Oh boy, That's a good question. Because everybody, for me, everybody is in varying states of awareness. So, for example, I'll give you my daughter, for example. Some of the things that she's learning are so completely backwards.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, she'll say, you know, Mom, it's illegal to pay taxes. The IRS can't legally force you to pay taxes. You know, Mom, pharmaceutical companies aren't good, but for some reason the vaccine is. I'm still trying to figure that. Then and that, you know, capitalism and she understands the difference between free enterprise and these mega giant capitalist organisms that are taking over the planet. So she sees some of it, but it's so twisted and intermixed that it's a matter of being able to point things out. Mm-hmm. So some of the information is out there and people agree with some of it and they don't agree with some of it. Mm-hmm. So it almost has to be on an individual basis, I think, to kind of feel them out and see where they are.
I totally agree. And I always went back to a point of truth, which was that to show people that the virus was downgraded in March 2020 to nothing more than the common cold on the CDC, the WHO, and the government websites.
But can you even find that now?
Yeah, we have in the back office of on our webpage. We've purposely put it there because they move it around. And even if you click on the link, they'll say the link has gone, it's been moved, and you struggle to find it because they have a very interesting code. Their code is they have to put it in plain sight.
Right.
That's their code. And so things are right in front of us, and yet it's made so that we can't see it without very, very clever sight. But everything is there, and all the stuff they do is in plain sight. And it's like somebody pointed out another thing that was in plain sight the other day about the triangle with the iris in the eye in it. Mm-hmm. And if you reverse the word iris, you get the word Siri.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, Siri. Hey, seeing eye. All seeing eye. Mm-hmm. So everything is there in plain sight when you know. When you don't know. And the easiest way to get people to relate, Victoria, is when you get the book as a child of Spot the Differences on the pages. And at the start, you can't see it. And then when you do see it, you can't unsee it.
Right. I love that analogy.
It's a question of trying to point out what the differences are, because they're all there. Everything is there in plain sight.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're just looking for real evidence, but they're looking for real evidence amongst the narration that's been created to keep them from seeing the real evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very interesting for those people. Like my cue here is about quantum financial system, which I've been involved in. But obviously, I've been looking at Q as an organization and their drops, etc., etc., etc. One very interesting point is that for those, and you can look back and study this, every time there was a Q drop of relevance, of importance, not relevance, importance, there'd be pictures of Donald Trump on the stage, and in front of the camera, between the camera and Donald Trump, there would be an individual wearing a sports shirt with a name on, with the number 17 on. And it wasn't once or twice. I mean, it was dozens and dozens of times. Or there was one where Prince William was giving a shirt to somebody else which had the number 17 on with his name on, when there was something of relevance. And the timing of all this, everything was there in plain sight. And the significance for those people who don't know the number 17 is that Q is the 17th letter of the alphabet. Mm-hmm. So it's fascinating. When you start seeing things, you can't unsee them, and things keep coming. So every time you see, I'm now looking, when I see Trump in a picture, even the other day when he was playing golf, He was on the 17th hole.
That's just when that picture was taken?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And there's so many things in plain sight. And you just go, really? And then you get really excited because what you're now doing is looking out for the next one. And then, of course, then they go for the cue drop and see what the cue drop is. And it's just like, it becomes a little game and it becomes a lot of fun.
Well, the cue drops aren't happening anymore, are they?
No, I don't think they are. I think they're over now.
No, I think they ended. There was like a cue map and they ended on the last day of the cue map.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's some fascinating things that are happening behind the scenes. And it's like even most people in the world that we're in are still trying to work out exactly who 107 is. But 107. Even just the names are being put out there. Jim Caviezel, who I speak to regularly, he's actually met with him on a number of occasions. So they grew up together. They grew up in the same schooling area, two schools across the road from each other. So they've got a lot in common. They spent hours talking to each other, which is amazing. So Jim the other day met somebody that was actually wearing a mask. And they did it on purpose to see if Jim could recognize that it was a mask. And when Jim was told, he looked at every single aspect of the face. And he said, I couldn't tell it was a mask until they peeled it off. And he went, wow, that was incredibly. And he said, there was nothing there that gave me even a hint that it was a mask. They're that good nowadays.
Yeah, I've seen some of those, and that's really, for lack of a better word, it's kind of frightening.
The giveaway with Biden is the ears, because one minute they've got lobes, the next minute they haven't, and you can't do that with normal humans. Right. So that's a bit of a giveaway. And also, James Wood is also being a little bit naughty, who's playing Biden at the moment. He's falling over, tripping up the stairs, and some of the fraudulent slips in what he says are incredibly funny when you know.
Yeah, the one yesterday or the other day when he said President Harris, I thought was rather fascinating.
Yes, exactly. Everything is in there in plain sight. And it's just a question of being aware and awake to it. And it's really, really beautiful when you start to see things. And I think one of the most important things to talk about, Victoria, is the fact that when you can see the light, when you can see the truth, you learn what peace is. When you know what peace is, fear disappears. And fear is the biggest killer and destroyer of life you'll ever have. Far more than any virus or vaccine or anything else. Fear will kill you like nothing on earth. So you get rid of that and find out the truth, then you find peace. When you find peace, fear disappears. Right.
Yeah, fear is the great controller of the human species.
It is. And we've lived by fear all our lives, and they do everything to, I remember the start of this lockdown where the police, you'd actually laugh because the police in Spain drive around with their lights flashing just to create fear for no other reason. They've all got their blue lights on, all of them, highly visual at the moment. And also the amount of, all these fines that they're issuing, totally illegal. You're not allowed to do what they're doing is totally against the law, but they're creating fear. They're putting these ridiculous fines in. And my wife got really upset because Justin went outside the front door and he got fined €500. And I said, well, you don't need to worry about that. She's going, but they've got my ID. I said, doesn't matter. Give it to me. I'll see you in court. My wife said, don't talk to them like that. And this was very early on. I said, no, I'll see you in court. And of course, we've never had the court summons come through. It's all done as a visual. That was a year ago, and there's been nothing come through, nothing at all. I would love to go to court with them. I would absolutely love to. Be a brilliant day, just to wind them up and point out that they're working illegally themselves, and go in with a subpoena for the judge and say, you're not even allowed to be working. Your corporation's bankrupt. You should know that. Put them right on the back foot. See how they react.
And I wonder how many of them even know that. You know, I mean, we had that last summer here with the police, and I live in this quiet little beach town, and we had the police constant sirens,
Mhm.
and the constant fireworks for like 4 months.
Yeah.
That's, you know, we usually have fireworks for maybe 2 weeks right around the 4th of July, but the sirens and the fireworks for months on end, and it got to be obvious. We're like, pretty obvious that this isn't normal.
This is not normal. It's just to create fear and to stimulate fear. And that's all that stuff was all about stimulating fear.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
It's wonderful to talk to you, Victoria. I'm going to let you get off to bed because it's late there, isn't it?
You know, it's actually not too bad. It's only 9:30.
Is it? Oh, it's not too bad, is it?
Yeah. You got up early this morning.
I love the mornings. I absolutely love the mornings. I can talk to the QFS team as well. So they're in Florida. So they're coming up to help us midnight now.
Okay. Well, hey, before you go, I wanted to share something with you with your audience. I have on my website, I have a free book for your audience. It's called Rise Up.
Well, we'll put the link down below for you. You send it to me and we'll put it in there.
So it's on my website. It's called Rise Up. It's a simplified guide to the Great Awakening, etc. And it's all about what's happening on the planet right now. So there's a lot of terminology that's in there for people who might not know what some of the terms mean. For example, what we're talking about here, I've gone in and I've created an entire glossary. So it's about the Great Awakening and about the spiritual awakening. And there's that. And then I'm also working on a new project called the Channel. It is a super channel on YouTube just for other spiritual teachers and luminaries and conscious channels to come together as a cooperative, as a collaborative to help each other out to grow their numbers. So for anybody, and you know this, right? This is part of the new reality we're creating. It's all about cooperation and alliance. We're actually even moving past collaboration, where collaboration was kind of the bridge between competition and cooperation. So in this new world, we're creating co-ops and alliances and the other word I wanted to share with you. This is the word that came in for me a week ago, and you're going to love this. What Spirit was telling me is that humanitarianism is going to be king, and it's going to beat out all of the other isms.
Yep.
I didn't even know that was a word. I had to Google it to make sure.
Humanitarianism, yeah.
Humanitarianism.
Yeah.
So that's the world we're moving into. And I wanted to share that with everybody, that we need to focus on that, because that is where humanity is heading. That's where the planet is heading. So yeah, I wanted to share that. It's on my website. The free book is victoriareynolds.com/free. And then anybody that's interested in being a part of the channel can send me an email to fearlessandfreetv@gmail.com.
Perfect. And we'll put all those links. If you send those links across, we'll get those links put in below so people can click on those links and make contact with you. But thank you very much once again, and we should do this again.
Yes. And tell me next time when you're in the States, let me know. I'd love to meet up with you.
We're due over there very, very soon, because I'll be over in Florida with the quantum team, definitely this month, and we'll work out exactly when, because we've got a lot to do in the States anyway. So it'd be nice to come over to the West Coast as well, and I've got so many people over there that I want to see that have been a huge part of this journey. So that'd be absolutely brilliant.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you for staying up for me.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for getting up early for me.
Well, it's Easter.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Perfect. Lots of love. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye.